This conference will
so
now be
we can go
recorded.
ahead and start the meeting.
Okay, and when will you do the explanation?
Oh, I'll do it. Do you want to go ahead and just start the meeting and then I'll make the
Right,
explanation?
Okay, great. Yes, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to our September 17th, 2021 meeting of the Rio Grande Council of Governments. I'd like to give a warm welcome to everybody who is here present, physically present, and a special welcome to everybody who's joining us by on video conference. And so I would just like to remind everyone that the rules do stipulate that in order to be counted present, you should have video and audio at all times. When there is not one or the other, then you are counted absent. Thank you. And so this morning, I just feel kind of odd. There's no flag here. And I just feel that it's very fitting this morning, if you all don't mind, that we say the Pledge of Allegiance. And also, I would like to have a moment of silence since we just had our 20th anniversary of 911. And I'd like to have a moment of silence in honor of all those firemen who did not hesitate for 1 second to go up those buildings and look for persons that were still trapped, knowing that they might not come down, especially after the first building went down. And so, and also, this is just in honor of all our law enforcement, all our first responders, and I would like to do that. So if we could all please stand, and maybe we'll just face, I'm sure somebody that's watching has a flag in their office. So we'll just go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I think Commissioner Leon's going to grab his flag, maybe.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Leon.
Possibly.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for a moment of silence. Together, we all thank God for the amazing bravery of all those people. And we also remember our commissioner from Culberson County who passed away the day before yesterday in a tragic accident. That was Commissioner Molina. Yes.
Mendoza.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Annette Gutierrez, Executive Director here at the Rio Grande Council of Governments. We are doing our first hybrid meeting as it pertains to the Open Meetings Act. There are a few housekeeping items I would like to inform everyone about. For those who are virtual, we will be looking out for you if you're going to be asking any questions because we'll need to raise the volume through the audio feed where you're being heard. Right now we're keeping it low because there's some feedback. So we'll just be aware of that in case anybody would like to say anything from the audience, from our board members who are participating virtually. And for those of you who are here physically, we do have the microphone right here. And so either Yvette, Marisa, or myself will be assisting you if anybody would like to say anything with regard to the agenda items, any discussion items, just raise your hand and we'll go take the microphone over to you. And then in the back, we do have IPS assisting us with our audio and video needs. And so we do have a camera that's panned to the podium as well as to the general audience and to Judge Guevara as well. So we are hopeful that anyone who's viewing this from the public or anyone else that's participating through the GoToMeeting, that you will be able to hear and see what it is that we're doing here physically at the Marriott Hotel. And so with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Judge Guevara and we can start the meeting with our agenda items.
All right, so of course, always is roll call and determination of quorum, which has been done already.
Yes, it has, Judge. If I can, one more thing I forgot to mention is that we should be able to see the virtual audience and they should be able to see you. The one thing that we are going to have to figure out for the next meeting is perhaps having two screens, because right now, if we show the presentation from PowerPoint, it eliminates their faces. So we'll figure out how to make that work. But Yvette, if you want to put it back to the screen with everybody.
All right, how do I do that?
There you go. Okay. So we'll just have to be, we'll show so the presentation here is just to guide you all, but the information is on your packets. Hi, Mayor Avalos. And Mayor Avalos has just joined us from City of Socorro. Thank you so much. And yeah, so if we are going to choose one or the other, we'll choose the screen versus what is on the PowerPoint presentation, with the exception of when we go into Carbine and the Attorney General's office, so that way they can make their presentations. Okay. And so I'm sorry, we can go back.
That's okay. So next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the previous meeting from the July Board of Directors meeting. I don't know if any of you had a chance to review those. I did. They seemed perfect. So
Motion to
okay. All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Padilla and a second by Judge Cano.
So the motion by Alderman Padilla, no, motion by Judge Cano and second by Alderman Padilla.
Oh, okay. So the other way around. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
And Judge, would you mind holding the mic?
Oh,
while you're
yes,
speaking?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's on.
So minutes are approved. And our first agenda item is to act and discuss on the following agenda items. Board of Approval is requested to accept GRP's audit agreement engagement letter for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021. And Julie Cisneros will be presenting this.
I'm going to go ahead and take over this agenda item, Judge. We realized that it might be easier.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for the feedback. So this agenda item here is requesting approval to allow the Council of Governments to accept GRP's audit engagement letter. And this is for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021. This is in lieu of a separate statement on auditing standards, which is referred to as the SAS 114 letter. The engagement letter is required prior to the commencement of the audit. The engagement letter also provides the governing body with the scope of services to be rendered by the audit firm, as well as management's responsibilities. It will also discuss the audit's objectives, procedures, internal control, and compliance procedures. Also, in accordance with the government auditing standards, the auditing firm is also providing a copy of their most recent external peer review and will provide any subsequent reports received during the contract. And you do have the engagement letter behind this agenda item that outlines all this information as previously stated. And right now we would be asking for board approval consideration to allow Rio Grande to enter to sign off on this engagement letter with GRP.
This is Becky Brewster. I move that we accept GRP's audit engagement letter.
Member
As
Webb, a
presented.
second.
Oops.
Mayor, Mayor Webb, did you have anything to say?
I'm sorry, I just seconded Mayor Brewster's motion.
Okay, we're going to leave it like that and see how we go with feedback. So we have,
Mayor Brewster
yes,
made a motion and a second by Mayor Webb.
yes.
And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay,
Our next item is also going to be via net and having to do with our proposed fiscal year 2022 proposed budget.
yes. Thank you, Judge. Yesterday, we did have a finance committee meeting, and those present at the committee included Mayor Webb, who served as the chair. We had Representative Rivera. We also had Alderman Cantu, and we also had Judge Cano. And we did present the budget proposed for 22. And in the packet, we do provide a lengthy memo informing the board of how the process was established and what assumptions were made to construct the budget. And I'll just highlight a few items here just for you all, for your information. We do show forecasted revenues of $8,882,124 with total agency expenditures of $8,864,758. The excess of revenue over expenditures and interfund transfers totals a positive $17,366. We are anticipating that the general fund shows a budget revenue of, I'm so sorry, the $17,366, of that amount, $16,316 should be added to our general fund balance and $1,050 to our enterprise program. And what we're
Ms.
looking at
Annette,
is,
may I interrupt you there for a little bit, Ms. Annette? If you have a presentation, it's not scrolling on the screen.
oh
You're
no,
still at
we,
roll call.
you know what, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and show that right now. I forgot that for those virtually, you can see that. So we'll do that part for you. So sorry. Okay, right there. And then can you put them back on? Do that, the paste. Yeah, okay. So as you can see there on the screen, it shows what our projected revenues and expenditures are, as well as what our excess revenue over expenditures will be. And we're looking at $16,316 being added to our general fund balance and $1,050 being added to our enterprise fund program. And if all assumptions are correct and come to light, we are projecting that our general fund balance at the end of fiscal year 22 should be at approximately $346,055. As I said, we did have several members of the board serve as our finance committee and heard the presentation. I don't know, Mayor Webb or Representative Rivera or Alderman Cantu, if any of you would want to say anything in addition to the budget. It is showing less than what we have for Amendment 2, but these are conservative numbers. A lot of these numbers are forecasted. We haven't received our final awards. And so as we go through the year where we do our 2 amendments, you'll see that our budget historically has increased throughout those time periods.
This is Summer. We went over this in detail yesterday, and everything looks very good to the Finance Committee, and we approved the Finance Committee to move forward.
Are there any questions for me? Hi, Sharon. Right there, Sharon. Any questions, Judge Connor? Oh, let me get you the mic real quick, Judge, to make sure everybody can hear you.
Thank you, Benson. No, just a quick comment, just to say thank you to the COG and the employee staff, because there's a lot of moving parts, with the whole thing with last year, COVID, and what's happened with funding, and things that were put on hold, things that were having to be, kind of be accounted for that were different. At the end of the day, I think that was a very positive outcome, and I think a lot of it goes back to you guys as an agency that y'all were able to maintain and kind of hold down the fort while things were pretty chaotic. So thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll take that. Yes.
All right, I'd like to give anybody else an opportunity to speak on the budget or to comment on it. Are there any more comments or questions on the budget? If none, then I guess at this time we're going to make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Or to accept the budget and then present it to the general membership next week.
All right.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion by Judge Cano
Second.
and a second by
Representative Schwartzbein.
Schwartzbein. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, so maybe next week after it does get approved, then we can have mariachis and.
Oh, I will feel like that. Yes, whatever you want to celebrate, we will do. definitely.
I always feel that my county only has a budget, but it doesn't happen. They don't walk through the door.
Judge Guevara's been having some challenges with the proposed budget, but it will happen next week. I know it will.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
Okay, so our next item is an informational item by Marisa.
Oh, actually, it'll be the
It's
number
the
three.
Number three.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Okay, yes, global opioid settlement.
Yes.
Go ahead, Annette.
Thank you so much. And so we are fortunate enough to have Amanda Sanders, who serves as the outreach director in the Office of the Texas Attorney General. And she, along with her team, are going to provide us with a presentation on the global opioid settlement. It has been reached with 3 major opioid distributors. And so they're going to talk to you about what you can do for your communities in terms of joining their settlement. And this is something that I think is very important for all of us to be aware of. They're hopeful that you all will want to join with their settlement as opposed to going out on your own. And so this is an informational item, but if I understand correctly, with Ms. Sanders, if you all will want this kind of presentation provided to your commissioners court, to your city council, this will be available to you as well. And so I'll go ahead and let's see. So Amanda, will you be, I'm going to make you the presenter. Is that correct? Oh, okay. We're going to try and see if your audio is not. Try again. Yeah, I don't hear your audio. Gabriella, can you speak?
Yes, sure. I don't know if Amanda's able to share her screen.
Okay,
As
I'll go ahead and turn over.
You can't? Okay.
Let me turn the presenter over to Amanda, and then we'll bring it up on the screen.
Okay, great. Just a little bit of background while we're doing that, and Amanda is able to share the presentation. So my name is Gabriela Martinez. I work for the Consumer Protection Division. I'm based out of El Paso, Texas, so I'm familiar with the region we are speaking with today. Amanda Sanders, as was discussed, is our outreach director in Austin, and so we're here to discuss, that's right, the global settlement with 3 of the major opioid distributors in Texas. That's McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen. And then also our, a major opioid manufacturer, Johnson & Johnson. And both of these national settlements are a historic $26 billion. There we go, perfect. Now, before we get into the details of, the allocation that will be going to Texas, I do want to let you all know that all of the documents that we reference throughout the presentation are available on our website. So that's texasattorneygeneral.gov/global opioid settlement. So feel free to check out our page. I know there was a question that was presented to us prior to this meeting, and that was whether the tribes will be participating in the settlement. So the answer is no. The tribes made the decision as sovereigns to enter into their own separate settlement negotiations, and we don't have any details on the tribal settlement negotiations at this time. Also, as I stated, this discussion is limited to the allocations that will be submitted to the different subdivisions throughout Texas. I know Doña Ana County, New Mexico, is part of this council. They're, represented by the New Mexico Attorney General's office. And so we don't have any details with respect to any allocation that will be submitted to them. Although I will say that it is my understanding that New Mexico decided to not participate in the settlement. So the slide that we have up right now, this just, Amanda, were you gonna say something? I think I thought I heard you.
See if my mic was working.
Working.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead.
Great, yeah. So this slide that Amanda has up, it just provides a snapshot of the importance of the settlement right now and the real dollars that we have on the table. So, despite the ongoing outreach efforts that have gone on for several years now following litigation of opioid, deaths rose by 30% in the US and almost 32% in Texas last year. That was due in part to COVID. But we do want to get money in your hands now as soon as possible to avoid, you know, this crisis escalating further, or at least to provide the funds for you to be able to, you know, have money for abatement strategies going forward. Slide 3. So this just provides a snapshot. So on July 23rd, Attorney General Paxton announced the 2 settlements against the 3 distributors. And I'll note that the 3 distributors at issue, McKesson, Cardinal Health, and Bergen, they make up 90% of the pharmaceutical distribution market in the US. So this is a big deal. All 3 distributors combined agreed to pay a total of $21 billion nationwide, and Johnson & Johnson agreed to pay a total of $5 billion nationwide. The settlement term also includes important injunctive terms that will change the industry, but we'll discuss those shortly. The next slide. So the portion that Texas could receive from the settlement is up to $1.5 billion. So that's 1.7 billion from the distributors and 268 million from Johnson & Johnson. Now, we'll note that this amount, the 1.5 billion, it's not guaranteed. It depends on all of our subdivisions across Texas. The more subdivisions join, the more money we all collectively get. And so we're urging everyone to, you know, let's all collaborate and get as much money as possible. Now, here, we're on slide 5. So just a note, so Texas obviously has decided to join the settlement. It's not a surprise. 43 other states have also decided to join. And so now, you know, we're asking for we're at the stage where we're asking our subdivisions to join as well. The deadline for everyone to join is January 2nd of next year. However, we are encourage everyone to join as soon as possible so that, you know, we have more consensus and more leverage over the ultimate negotiations. Since the defendants do have until February of next year to decide whether to move forward with this settlement or not, they will take a general view to see if we have enough participation. So slide 5. So this discusses the injunctive terms. So like I said, they will change the industry. Johnson & Johnson under the settlement will be enjoined from manufacturing, selling, and promoting opioids for 10 years. That means they'll be completely out of the business. The distributors, they will be required to fund and establish an independent centralized clearinghouse, which will be overseen by the states and distributors. They'll be required to compile data and identify any red flags, and will be required to report suspicious orders to the DEA, which was previously not happening. And this solves a major problem that was identified during our investigation. So there was previously no oversight into what the distributors were doing, which obviously led to the oversupply of opioids throughout the country. Now, slide 6, again, this just provides some of the mechanics. So out of the national settlements, Texas gets 6.29% allocation. Now, these payments are split into 2 different types of payments. So base payments, which are guaranteed payments regardless of joinder. And then there are incentive payments, which increase as more subdivisions sign on. Now, slide 7, it's kind of a carrots and sticks approach, right? So there are over 3,000 national lawsuits right now that have been filed against, you know, opioid related parties. And so the defendants, not surprisingly, want global peace. And so there are also offsets and suspension of payments if say a subdivision who hasn't sued later decides to sue. So in that case, there'll be an offset from the total amount Texas counties, cities, and towns get overall. So as long as we all play nice and by the rules, no one goes rogue, we all get the most money out of this deal. Now, slide 8. So again, our goal here is to get as much money as possible to our subdivisions and communities as possible. So right now, Texas alone has 128 litigating cities and counties. And we want all litigating and non-litigating subdivisions to join in order to maximize Texas overall recovery. Now, there are several ways in which we can achieve it. And I will say, so the defendants are looking at larger cities and counties to join the settlement and sign releases. So it'd be those with populations over 10,000 individuals. However, in Texas, we made the decision to make sure that every single city and county and town, even those with populations of less than 10,000, have access to these funds that we'll discuss soon. So we want everyone to join, regardless of population. Okay, slide 9. So this discusses how the money will be allocated to the subdivision. So if you sign on to the settlement, you will have access to 2 forms of payment. So the first are direct payments to you. You sign on, a check will be mailed to you with the funds, and that will be, you know, different amounts for different counties depending on opioid impact. And then the second bucket of money that you will have access to is an abatement program bucket, where there will be an opioid council appointed, and it will work like a grant program. And so the amounts, like I said, each subdivision will receive are governed by a Texas term sheet. And this is a 43-page document that can be found on our website, like I said, and also Senate Bill 1827, which codifies the term sheet. And so just a little bit of background for y'all. So the term sheet is an intrastate allocation agreement that was negotiated between General Paxton and larger counties in Texas about 1.5 years ago. Okay, and slide 10. So like I said, there are different buckets of money. Okay, there are 3 buckets. So the first is, like I said, the 15% direct payment that will go to you automatically, regardless of whether you choose to apply for and use the Texas Opioid Abatement Fund we'll discuss shortly. Now, this 15% direct payment to y'all, these funds, there aren't really any restrictions as of now with respect to these funds. The only requirement is that they be spent on something with an opioid nexus. They are you can even use them to reimburse yourself for past expenditures on these. And our understanding right now is that all you need to do is abide by your normal internal accounting rules to use these funds. There will probably not be any other reporting requirements, but stay tuned. That's our understanding right now. Now, in addition to the direct payments, the second bucket, so 70% of the total amount Texas will receive will go into a common fund for the subdivisions to use for abatement programs, okay? And like I said, the fund will be overseen by an opioid council, again, also established by the Texas term sheet available on our website. And this council will be comprised of 6 appointees who are experts in the academia and the medical profession. And their role will just be to control the bulk of the funds and make sure that they're divided fairly and for the purpose, their intended purpose, right? There's also no requirement for the 70%. There's also a requirement that the fund be spent on something with an opioid nexus. Now, there will be more rules attached to, which may include reporting requirements for the 70% bucket, but those rules have not yet been adopted. And so, just so you all know, there will be a notice and comment period on the rules. That those will come out of the comptroller's office. So we encourage everyone to look out for these should you want to provide comments for these. And again, these 2 buckets, they're intended to be as flexible as possible. We just want to get the money in your hands so you can use them. And then there's a third bucket, 15% going to the AG's office as counsel for the state of Texas. That 50% will be allocated to the 70% bucket. So we're actually not getting anything from this. That will just be additional money that will be going out for the abatement programs, okay? And then the slide that we have up right now, so these amounts represent estimates of the direct payments that your subdivision could receive under the 2 settlements. Now, these are estimates based on full participation in a $1 billion to the states. If not all subdivisions join, these amounts will decrease, okay? Now, unfortunately, we were unable to fit all of the the counties, towns, and cities that are, present here today. So if you need your exact numbers, please feel free to ask me right now or after we finish the presentation, or you can also email questions to the address we'll give you towards the end of the presentation. Okay, and again, that's only the 15%. This slide, these amounts represent the opioid abatement funds allocation. So the 70%, really 85%, right, amount that will be divided by region. Now, as you can see, all of the counties present here today fit into 2 regions, and El Paso being the largest is under a separate region. Okay, and so purpose being we don't want the larger cities to take all of the funding for the smaller counties. Okay, so it's a significant amount of money. And again, this is expected to function like a grant program. It will be administered by the comptroller's office, but it will not be going to general revenue. And so this money will be available for you to use. Okay, now slides 13 through 15, the next 3 slides. So this is just a timeline of the work our office has done since 2017. It's been 4 years. And the money that we just discussed, that relates to the settlements with the 3 distributors and Johnson & Johnson, nothing else. We have outstanding litigations, which is in bankruptcy, which we expect to bring in money. And that money will be allocated and included in the structure that we just discussed. Specifically, we expect Purdue and Mallinckrodt are the 2 companies that are in bankruptcy to emerge from bankruptcy next year. So any funding will flow into that common fund. Something we discussed about, if counties, cities decide to go on their own and sue, we like to say that Purdue and Mallinckrodt should serve as a cautionary tale for everyone. As a result of their bankruptcy, millions of dollars that could have gone to the community to address this public health crisis have been lost. And, a lot of this money, instead of coming to the states or the communities where it should go, they're being used to pay creditors and bankruptcy attorneys. Just a number for y'all to chew on, and about $20 million a month is being spent on attorneys' fees in these bankruptcies. Okay, this is of course money that will never come back to us and is being lost. And there's a real threat right now that these companies that we're settling with, in particular Cardinal Health, could go into bankruptcy if they're pushed to that. And so our ask for you right now is twofold. Is 1, to sign the 3-page subdivision settlement participation form that's on our website to commit your city to join the settlement. There are 2 of these forms. There's one for Johnson & Johnson and another one for the distributors. And then secondly, to adopt the Texas term sheet so that the allocation model can be established. And we have a model resolution available in Word document in our website that can be tweaked to fit your needs. Again, the deadline is January 2nd, but we encourage everyone to join as soon as possible. And then we also have on slide 17 all of the relevant information, our dedicated website, and where you can email questions to. So I'll open it up now. Amanda, do you have anything? Or?
No, I think you covered it. If you'd like us to come make a presentation specifically to your council or your commissioners court, we're happy to do that, or to Zoom in and be available for questions, or we can even come in person if you are planning to bring this before them. So just reach out to that opioids email. It's opioids@oag.texas.gov. And we have our attorneys monitoring that constantly. And so any questions that you have regarding to it, you can just send there. And then Annette, feel free to send out my contact information as well to the group, and they can reach out to me directly.
I do have a question. I did see previously that there was 3 school districts noted on the slide. What would school districts do as part of this settlement, or is it only for cities and counties?
So the school districts, I believe, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're included in this settlement, but they would fall under a separate bucket of money, like any money that is received would fall under a separate bucket of money. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm seeing if I can pull it up here now, because they are a political subdivision. Let me see if I can, we can get you the allocation amounts for the particular school districts in your area as well.
And what I can do is I will reach out to Amanda and get the specific dollar amounts for each of your communities and your school districts, so you're aware of what potentially can be available to you. And then I guess and I'm thinking like with Sheriff Wiles, with the mental health collaborative, with the Health Foundation, the monies that are going to be coming to El Paso County, do you think that might be something that, I don't know how many people are aware, how many organizations are aware of these potential funds and how much collaboration should be done with those kinds of things. So if you all would like for us to assist in reaching out to attorney generals to get this presentation on your city council or commissioners court or school district, we can do that as well. Amanda and Gabriela, how soon would you want to be making these presentations in terms of a timeline?
We're hopeful to make them sooner than later. We're expecting a lot of we've started meeting with people in July. Most have said that they're bringing it forward to their council or their commissioners court and have already done so this month. You know, obviously the deadline is January, but it helps us to go back to the table with other attorneys who are representing litigating entities in the state to show how much participation we have as early on as possible. We knew that August was busy for a lot of city councils with budget. And so, you know, ideally, if this could be presented sometime within the next month, that would be great for our purposes. But again, you do have until January as well.
And then just a show of hands here, you all are still allowing for presentations to be done virtually, even though you're meeting in person? Is that correct?
We can do either one. Mm-hmm.
You have to check us out. Okay. Okay. Yes.
No, I was just saying that we're allowing it.
Okay. I'm just going to steal the mic from Judge Guevara. Are there any questions from council, from the board members that we could ask, that you'd like to ask Amanda or Gabriela?
Is the hospital district separate from the county, or is that?
Hospital districts, where do they fall?
They're also a separate category as well. And let me get the allocation numbers. I was just checking the conversion sheet that I have is just showing the cities and counties, but I can get that, or if you want to email specifically which hospital district to that opioids email, they can get you the exact allocation amounts as well.
Okay, great. And I did reach out to city manager's office in El Paso to let them know that we were having this presentation, as well as the county with Mr. Bishop. So if you all would want them to get on your city council, if you need us to assist in just getting that, facilitating that for you, we can do it as well. And for the other counties also. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Very great information. Yeah, I'd like to have you in my commissioner's court in October, because anytime there's money, we need to jump on that right away. Okay, thank you again. So now we'll go ahead and go on to the next item, and this is another presentation by Marisa Quintanilla with Cardline Sea Live Apex application.
Who do you want to be the presenter?
Yeah, me on. Good afternoon, Board of Directors. Marisa Quintanilla, Regional Services Director. Wanted to provide you with an informational item regarding Carbine, the Aplex application. I know we had talked about this, throughout several board meetings regarding our public safety answering points moving to a multimedia platform. And I know that the Judge Guevara had asked for a presentation from Carbine, so all the board members can see what our PSAPs are going to look like, what our workstations are going to look like. So just as a reminder, the Council of Governments serves as the 911 authority for the rural jurisdictions. So anything outside city and county of El Paso, the Council of Governments is responsible to maintain and ensure delivery of that 911 call. So with us, we do have Jason Wilbin, who is the Director of Solutions Architects, along with Sean Barnes, who's Customer Success Manager, who will provide a brief presentation along with a demo regarding the Aplex application. As well as we have Commissioner Vaughn Washington, who is a commissioner for the Commission on State Emergency Communications. He's actually here in El Paso, and he has also joined onto the meeting so he can go ahead and preview the presentation. So Sean or Jason, who's going to be presenting?
Hi, Marissa. This is Jason. I'm going to be presenting.
Okay, let me get you to be the presenter if you want to accept.
Okay. Got it.
Just a brief delay.
And you should be seeing my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Hello, and thank you for having us today. Trying to be respectful of everyone's time today, what I'm going to do is change my presentation a bit and go right into a demo. I'm going to be able to just show you kind of some of the key salient features that you're going to get, because we don't have time to do a complete end-to-end feature by feature presentation today. I also provided some slide material to you that's available to you, which also we can get into after the demo if we have time. But that material is all in support of what we're doing here for Rio Grande COG. And my contact information is also at the end of that material in case you have any questions when you go through it. So jumping right in, this is Carbine's C-Live Apex platform. This is the system that is currently in deployment or in the deployment phases within the region, and we are currently in the process of laying down direct secured network connections between the facilities in Alpine and Culberson into our cloud. This is the application that would reside on all of the PSAP's call handling positions. Apex is a full cloud native application hosted in AWS GovCloud. And the material that I provided in slide form kind of describes and defines what cloud native is, kind of starts to examine some of the benefits and the advantages you're going to get by moving to this type of platform. So I'm just going to go right into the presentation and start a call in and kind of show you how calls would be processed and arrive within Apex. So I'm going to simulate an emergency call coming in. And you're going to see the screen's going to light up, right? And we can configure this to do a couple of different things, right? For emergency calls, we can change the alerting so that it's red, that you know that it's an emergency call coming in versus a 10-digit non-emergency, for example. I'm going to go ahead and answer the call. We're going to go ahead and grab the device-based location directly from the clearinghouse. So if you have that enabled in your jurisdiction, we're going to automatically pull that location in and display it. If you have a third-party map application, we're going to be able to integrate with that third-party map application. If they're cloud-based, for example, we can integrate cloud to cloud, and all the location and plotting directions that we receive here would also go on your third-party map application and also into your CAD systems. And then finally, everything would be sent to your media recorder for log of record and long-term storage. So one of the things that's interesting here, right, that you're seeing is I'm simulating an emergency call. We have things configured in the application right now, such as natural language processing, right? And what that's doing is transcribing on the fly what the voice or audio is on the screen. And all of this transcription becomes part of the log of record that you can access. We've got some things that we're working on in the future to be able to key off important keywords, things like that, that would drive maybe some data that's going to be relevant for this call, or some other standard operating procedures you have going on in your workstation. I have the ability to turn that off, which I will. And now what's also happening here is, this is a traditional wireless call into the 911 center. And if it was coming in through the service provider, you would see the network location under Annie Alley, in addition to the device location, which is, again, retrieved from the clearinghouse, right? And in most systems, that's where it really ends today, right? Even in a next-gen 911 environment. What Apex is going to be able to provide is give you enhanced capabilities on top of this. So based off of different configurations within the system, we can send out requests to the caller hang on just a second. We can send requests to the caller in a text form that says, would you like to share your precise device location directly? Would you like to enable video for your session? And would you like to enable chat? So this so happened to be configured that right when I answered the call, that SMS message went to my mobile phone. And so what that SMS message contains is a web link that basically says, you know, this is Rio Grande COG, or this is one of the PSAPs, for example. Please click on this link to enable additional information. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. On my phone, it's loading a web page and asking me to share my direct location, which I will, and it's also asking me to share my video. So now I've basically taken a standard 911 wireless call, and I've enabled multimedia capabilities on top of this, right? It's enabled me to now, as a caller, if I'm in a situation where you know, you're getting my location, but you need some more situational awareness around where I'm located. And this could be, for example, you know, I'm in a room, there's a window, I've got a doorway, for example, whatever the case may be. You know, these are things that could be, you know, more easily identified through the use of video and imagery. There'll be the capability to take snapshots of this imagery. So if there's something of relevance or importance that the call taker is seeing that needs to be captured, they can take a snapshot. In addition, we can upload still imagery and pictures that may have been taken before the 911 call was made. So what we're doing now is collecting all of this information, right? The call into the 911 center, the location history, all of your multimedia, the video and any imagery, all this stuff is being captured in the back end in the cloud, stored securely as part of your logger record, which we have an application that's also going to be made available to you called Events History that will allow you to go and retrieve this information, replay it, print it out as part of the logger record, and use it according to your standard operating procedures. Again, just panning over to the map again. So our map has the capability to show satellite imagery. We can enable things like seeing original, you know, any ongoing calls that are in the map view, any recent calls. We can toggle traffic views on and off. And you can see they're toggled on to this nearest street here. We have, let's see here. We also have the ability to upgrade into a chat session. So although this isn't a text to 911 call, we have the capability now for whatever scenario may be pertinent here, that the caller isn't able to speak anymore, right? And so now we can go ahead in the same call without leaving or changing modes. We can go in and begin a text chat session. And in my phone, I'm getting that instantaneously. And now I can go ahead and say, you know, type something back. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing this. And voila. So now we're in a direct chat session in addition to all the other aspects around the call. Some of the other things that we can do here, we've got full contact lists. So this is a progressive search. So I can start typing in, for example, finding the correct, as I'm just typing in my first name, it's now whittled down to the precise contact. I see there's more information on it. I can open that up And this contact has both mobile and a direct extension, and I can choose to dial out and make a call. Let's see. So I can clear this off. Other capabilities on the contacts list, we can organize this by groups. So create a group, you add in the individual items below that, and the groups become context sensitive in the same way. We also have dial pad, so I can go ahead and initiate a conference session here. Let me go ahead and get the phone number for you. Here we go. And so I've got a VoIP client on my other screen where I've dialed out a call, and now I'm in a three-way conference between the caller, myself, and the third party. Now that I've go ahead and spoken with the third party, I can go ahead and drop them off, and we're back into direct conversation between the call taker and the caller themselves. That was the conference aware situation. If IRR was enabled here, you would have that capability accessible through this screen. If this were a TTY application, you would have the TTY kind of enabled here, and that would pop up automatically in your screen, so you could proceed with that conversation in that modal form. Let's see, what else? Relevant contact information about the caller. So this information happened to come in with the call because I had it pre-configured, right? So in a scenario we have frequent callers, or you have some other commonplace names that come in at a standard number, you can go ahead and add in this information ad hoc during the call, and this will be persisted so that the next time that a call is made from that number, you will get this information and be able to read it and act on it appropriately. I'm going to go ahead and drop this call now. So we're now out of call. As you can see in my recent call list, I've got all of the previous calls that I've made, and they're easily identifiable based off of emergency, non-emergency, outbound, etc. We've got an abandoned call list here. So if I were to make an abandoned call, I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And so now I'm going to go ahead and abandon it. It's going to show up. So I've got an abandoned call, and as you can see, even though it was abandoned, the system was able to grab the clearinghouse location, the name from the caller history data that we've already stored, and make it available in it. So you can easily identify and have more information around that abandoned call. If you click on it, you'll go into a preview mode and see, okay, this is where the abandoned call was. I'm going to go ahead and do a callback. And I'm going to answer it on my phone, and now I'm in call. So now you've made the abandoned call back, you're speaking with the caller, you've now determined that, yeah, this really is an emergency. So let's go ahead and enable those multimedia capabilities that I showed you before. So to do that, you're going to manually select this link. It's going to send out that same text to the caller. The caller is going to get that SMS message. There's going to be a web link. I'm going to go through, I'm going to answer the pertinent information, allow you to share my location and my video. And now we're back in that same enhanced emergency call situation, right? So regardless of which direction the call comes from, right, you have the ability to upgrade and add the appropriate levels of multimedia to a call in order to provide the best response and obtain the best situational awareness for your responders arriving to a particular location. Go ahead and close this off. Agent status. So if you have other agents also operating within the same call center, you're going to see their status here. And one thing in particular here is the ability to do a silent monitor or a barge in. So I'm going to go ahead and do a silent monitor on this individual, Sean. And so now I'm monitoring their conversation, right? They don't know that I am monitoring. It is silent. But as you can see, if that call or that caller taker was in a session with full multimedia, you would be able to see that monitoring session, right? You can go ahead and view all the location that came in. If there's any text associated with a call, you would see that here. And now let's say that you're monitoring in a training scenario and you needed to act and provide some additional instruction. You could go ahead and do a barge in here. Oh, I'm sorry, do it up here. And now we are fully barged in and able to speak directly with the caller themselves, right? So that's just an example of that capability. I'm going to go ahead and terminate that. For individuals in training in a supervisory position scenario, you can set this to automatically monitor every single call that comes in on this workstation, right? So you set that here and it goes into auto monitoring Sean, right? And if Sean were to conclude his call and drop off, right, it still shows my workstation as auto monitoring, right? So the next call that Sean answers, you're going to automatically enter that monitoring mode. You're going to provide that supervision from a monitoring perspective. And should the need arise, you're going to be able to barge right in. And as you can see, Sean made another call and the session's going back into that monitoring state. And now I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to barge in and we're good. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. To get out of the auto monitoring mode, you can simply remove that button and you're back into your normal operations. We also have the global part capability. Allows you to do a global hold on a call and another call taker can pick that up. And we already showed you the recent calls. So from a very just kind of quick overview, this is what Apex is. This is what we're going to bring into all of your PSAPs. And again, all of this is driven from components that are residing in US GovCloud. So what I'm going to do now is go to my presentation and kind of give you some background information as to what cloud native is and how it's advantageous for your operations. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes, Jason.
Great, thank you. So what is cloud native, right? So in essence, cloud native is nothing more than a software engineering methodology, right? And it really pertains to cloud-based applications. It really defines how you develop a software application to take full advantage of the cloud, right? It uses things like containers and microservices. These are really software engineering and programmatic terms used to describe an implementation, right? So I'm not going to get too in the weeds for you. But the end result of this is that it creates what is known in the software world as loosely coupled systems, which just simply means that it's a componentized piece of software that you can easily work on, that its scope of what it does is well defined, and over time it doesn't get bloated into this, you know, spaghetti code kind of large application that becomes tough to maintain, tough to deploy, and honestly gets fragile over time, right? So it takes advantage of the cloud environments, scalability on demand. Because we have these individual software components that are running in the cloud, we can scale on demand by simply spinning up more instances of that. And the multiple instances act together as one system for you that should the cloud sense that you need more, the cloud automatically starts that up. They are brought into service and they start serving requests from Apex. So that's how scalability on demand works. Seamless upgrades, right? Because we have the ability now to upgrade individual specific applications running in the cloud. We can do that on the back end and roll that out in a way that's controlled and seamless to you. You don't know that the back end's being upgraded at all. Management and automation, these are just aspects of how the cloud is used. There's a bunch of things in the background that constantly monitor looking at your service level agreements, your performance, your quality of service. All these things are being managed and monitored in real time. The net result of all these capabilities is that it gives you high availability, right? Because the cloud is a distributed system, right? It's not located in one or two locations within your proximity. It's actually out in the cloud on different ends of the country, and between both of those ends, it's running in at least 3 locations on each side. So in essence, you have about 6 data centers that are working in concert for you, keeping your application up and available. And then of course, all the security that comes with the cloud itself. So what's typical for on-premise, right? You're well aware of this, right? So once you get into the PSAP server room, you have to start collecting all these things, your call handling, application servers, your call manager, which is your PBX server. There's usually redundancy there with large disk systems that are maintaining storage. Those systems are connected to alley modems that go out into the network to bring your location in. Those systems are also connected to legacy gateways, right? So the old Camatrons, the PSTN gateways, all these things are adding up and taking space in your racks. In addition, you have supporting infrastructure around that as well. So your mapping servers and its supporting infrastructure, your logging recorders. And then of course, once you have all this in your back room, you got to think about ways to do backup, disaster recovery. You got to provide constant power. You got to have a controlled environment for temperature and humidity, things of that nature, right? So all those things are kind of drives up the cost and the complexity about on-premise, right? So what does it look like in cloud native? Well, most of that equipment in the server room now goes away, right? And instead you have direct connections into the AWS GovCloud that takes you into our services and provides the same capabilities. So we already talked about cloud native design. CLive Apex implemented in GovCloud US, both the East and West regions. And really a region in the cloud world is simply an area of operation, right? And in this case, there's 2 for US GovCloud in the East and West. Each one of those regions are strictly regulated for access control and security protocols, meaning that it's US entities, US civilians that are in that system. They have strict authorization and authentication rules in order to get access and maintain and to provide maintenance and support for you. Within those regions, we have availability zones. So I talked about that before. If you kind of think about an availability zone as really, it's just a data center, right? It's a specialized data center that AWS maintains. A collection of those availability zones or data centers is what defines the region. So for Apex, within each one of those regions, we're operating in 3 data centers or availability zones on each side. So now you can kind of think forward, okay, the chances of there actually being a cloud outage is actually pretty low now because I'm operating in a much more stable, long-term environment than I could possibly reproduce on premise. So again, we're deployed in each one of those for scalability and reliability. Having the multi-region scenario gives you automatic backup and disaster recovery, and it allows you to have physical separation in your own virtual private cloud, which is really just our instance running in AWS for you. So this kind of just shows you what's running in the background as far as the GovCloud implementation. So EZNet calls are going to be delivered through what we're calling our Carline POI on the right, and those are going to come in through direct secured lines into our cloud services. Those are going to be serviced by a region, and we have various components and protocols that are dictating which region it goes to and orchestrating the failover should an outage occur in any one of these components. So for Rio Grande COG, for your deployment implementation, we are in the process of rolling out the local access, the green lines down to both Alpine and Culberson. Those are dedicated, private, and secured lines that go into AWS Direct Connect, and then which provides access into our cloud services in GovCloud. Your EZNet service provider, we are working with them to establish connectivity directly from their EZNet into our cloud services. So in the past, you may have expected the calls to be actually delivered to routers or network equipment at both Alpine and Culberson. We're moving those demarcation points into our POI, and the POI really just stands for a point of interconnect or a point of interface. And really what that is an Equinix data center located in Dallas and Ashburn that provides, high availability and security around the infrastructure, but provides a handoff point between your EZNet service provider and our cloud. So now once this is fully rolled out, you can kind of envision when calls come in from the top left, right? So you're gonna receive a 911 call is gonna be made within your jurisdiction. It's going to originate from the NG core services sites from your EZNet service provider. It's going to go through their core network and be delivered to our POI. Our POI is going to get that information, pass it off through Direct Connect into our services. It's going to be answered or received by Apex in the cloud. And then we're going to know, based on the specifics of that signaling from the ingress call, which PSAP to deliver it to and which workstation to make the call appearance on. So these are just some of the benefits that we're implementing as a result of Direct Connect. So it's a direct connection. There's no dependency on the internet. This gives you the highest level of cybersecurity protection. It enables us to support high service level agreements for you in terms of availability and network quality. And it enables flexibility in your call handling deployments. So if I go back up one section here. So at the end result, one of the benefits that you could gain from this is the ability to remote work, right? So if there's a situation where one of your PSAPs is offline, because we are receiving calls directly into our cloud now, you can pick up a specialized laptop workstation with Apex pre-configured on it, use a VPN connection to access our cloud and start receiving calls, right? You don't need to be physically on site any longer. And if that's a capability that you think is of relevance for you, we can absolutely enable that and make it available for you. And these are just some other network diagrams that just kind of show our approach to delivering the local access connectivity into Alpine and Culberson, but I won't go into much details there. And of course, we just gave you a presentation of Apex. Again, this kind of just describes what Apex is, some of the key salient capabilities. This is a screenshot of what I just presented to you. Some of the things I didn't show you today were the events history. So you'll be able to have access to your own instance of events history where you can edit your contacts. So all of the list of items in the contacts list, the grouping and everything else, you'll have complete control over administratively to be able to enter in that information, maintain it, set the icons, and set other attributes around it. Likewise, in the same application, you'll be able to access previous call history, right? So in this case, we've pulled up an event, and when you do that, you get to see the configured list of attributes that are captured, as well as the location history. You'll be able to get to see the bread trail location crumbs on the map display. And then you'll have access to the media recording. So you can do a full playback of the audio and video overlaid on each other, as well as any images that were uploaded. And that's all I have for you today.
Quite a bit. Thank you, Jason. Right? So I think the beauty of this is that with our rural jurisdictions, the benefit to be able to merge the calls with federal entities such as Border Patrol and be able to provide a video of the location, because many times when folks get lost, they don't know where they're at. There's no mile markers, or there's no points of reference to tell first responders or tell the PSAPs, the dispatcher, where they're located. So I think that's a huge benefit to our region. So we're hoping that we can go live in December. We're still working everything out, and As you saw that there was needs for configuration, Judge, and that was a meeting that was scheduled for the 22nd. We're going to postpone that to October. So each PSAP supervisor is invited to that meeting so they can go ahead and decide how they want to configure their workstations. And so that would be left up to those PSAP jurisdictions or PSAP supervisors. Commissioner Washington, do you have any questions for Jason or for Sean?
No, I do not. Excellent presentation, and it's a great follow-up to the discussion we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else have any questions for Jason or Sean? Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Carbine.
Raisa, just real quick, what is the cost to the counties for this?
So we, as you recall, we the Rio Grande Council of Governments asked the Commission on State Emergency Communications for additional funds back in May. And so we did make a request and was granted, was approved by the Commission. So the software, the Apex system is it's actually $490,000. During the summer, there was some upfront fee for the one-time management and so forth. And then once we have the acceptance, then we'll go ahead and pay for the additional balance that's due. I think it's 75% of the total cost that is owed once we do accept the system. In addition to that, there are going to be some recurring costs, Judge, that we did identify in our strategic plan to the Commission, to CSEC, in which they've approved. So we'll be getting additional dollars to be able to pay for the recurring cost. In addition to that, when we did the presentation to the Finance Committee, there's some monies that we received as well to go ahead and purchase the geocom mapping that will be overlaid with the system, will be integrated into the system. They also have a beautiful piece to this, which is rapid deployment. Currently, our PSAPs use rapid deployment, but on a standalone computer. Rapid deployment is basically a technology where if we don't get all the information from the caller, you can enter in the rapid deployment website, you enter the phone number, and it actually gives you the location of the cell phone, where that cell phone is. So the beauty of Carbine, they have that piece integrated with their system. So that's an additional plus for the dispatchers to be able to locate that individual.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting. Thank you. Great work on your part.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Let's camera.
Okay.
Great to know that's coming to our counties. Can't believe it. We'll actually be in the 21st century.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Marisa. Right, so our next item is expanding access to COVID-19 vaccinations by Yvette.
Madam President, board members, Yvette Lugo, Director for the Area Agency on Aging. This information item, not technology-based, I can't wow you with what Marisa provided. This information for you all, I'm sure you're aware the Area Agency on Aging was very blessed in the ability to receive additional funding to help with the COVID-19 vaccines or any concerns specifically related to that for older adults in our region. And so these dollars that I'm going to speak of today are very specific in what we can do to continue to support that need for older adults and family caregivers. These funds were in a collaboration from the Centers for Disease Control as well as the Administration for Community Living, specifically allocated to area agencies on aging within however they are set up with their specific states. Here in Texas, obviously that comes through our Texas Health and Human Services Commission and then is allocated to area agencies on aging throughout our specific region. For us, particularly here, we received $157,988 to do better to create access to an awareness of the COVID-19 vaccine. For our specific region, I'm sure you all are aware of the numbers. I think we did a wonderful job in helping older adults access those vaccines. And so for our particular region, we're at a wonderful percentage rate for vaccine for seniors. So in thinking about these dollars and how we can best utilize them, there are specific allowable activities that come with the funds that we've received. And looking at these items, they are actually things that we've done January through March of this year. Part of those things are identifying older adults that need assistance in accessing those vaccines. Those are things that we started to do also. Disseminating information about the vaccine, how to schedule a vaccine, if you need assistance with transportation to a vaccine site, things of that nature. Providing technical assistance to local health departments or other entities on the vaccine availability. If someone needs a personal care attendant to maybe perhaps escort them to that location, and reminding people of their second dose. Those are all things that I can proudly say we were doing without this funding, January through March. However, with these specific funds, because they are so specific in what we can do, the thought is, thankfully, we're able to carry them over to fiscal year 22. And so we're looking at possibly when the booster dose comes out, when those recommendations come out, that perhaps some of these activities we can continue to do and provide for our region. And so we are basically informing you all because we will be coming back to you to look at partnering again, see if there's anything we can do to help your respective communities to do these kinds of things for your older adult residents and family caregivers. Particularly maybe there's some school districts that might need assistance, or maybe you also were reaching out to, or through your school liaisons, identifying those persons, grandparents raising grandchildren who come to your schools also. So maybe those are conversations we can start to have, but we wanted to be able to plant that seed to let you know that these funds are specific. We're looking to that nod towards a booster shot, perhaps, as I mentioned. We've been very beneficial in making sure that older adults knew and have been vaccinated with the access to that. And so we're not quite like some of the other regions where at first I was concerned and thinking, oh, we've done that. There's nothing else I can possibly do. But now with that booster, maybe there are some things that we can identify. And just wanted you all to know that that would is forthcoming. So if I reach out to you, or if you have any specific thoughts on that, please feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to start to coordinate those efforts as we move forward. Any questions?
Yvette, do you still get a lot of calls for vaccinations? Is your phone ringing off the wall still?
Not really,
no.
like
covered everybody?
For the most part, yes. No, we've not received any, not like it was before, not like we were helping to field some of those questions, concerns, really actually helping access or register through the different options that were available either here in El Paso County or throughout the region, participating on some of those calls, especially with our Department of State Health Services Regional Director, Dr. Soni. Really, that's kind of died down. And so that's why I'm hoping that with the booster shot availability, that maybe perhaps that'll start up again and we can start to do those same things that we were doing at the beginning of the year.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for everything that you did in the local communities to help those elderly get registered for the vaccine. A lot of them don't know how to use the internet, and we're a big help, or we could just refer them to the different AAA offices in our courthouses or locally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for that information. Annette, so I did forget the public comments, and before we do our last two items, should we go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I just want to apologize because I just skipped an agenda item that's real important, and so I'm just wondering if there's anyone who would like to make a public comment, because I did not give that opportunity earlier. You may do so at this time.
Hello.
And everybody's, we got one.
Oh, Jonathan's
Oh,
gonna
looks like we have someone. Okay, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Hello. I think this is very relevant for just the next agenda item for some of the August activities and such. Just to introduce myself, I'm the new district representative for State Senator Cesar Blanco's office. And I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys a couple updates regarding ARPA funds. So on Wednesday, the Senate Finance Committee is actually going to be meeting, in which they're going to be covering the ARPA funds, but we wanted to let you know that projects and proposals that you guys have in mind and the amounts that are associated with, we're going to need those by Tuesday, September 21st, by end of business day. Ideally, what we're trying to do before the senator goes into the Finance Committee is have all these proposals ready and such that way, as they're going over the mechanism of distribution and prioritization areas, we can just have it at his disposal. They're going to be detailing a lot of those or cementing a lot of those details later, but if you could go ahead and send those to either myself or my district director, we can make it available to him before he goes into those meetings. Like I said, we're gonna need those by Wednesday. So if you could send it to us on Tuesday by the end of business day, that's perfectly fine. I'll go ahead and drop my email in here for anybody who would like to contact or if you have questions or concerns. I also have the governor's proclamation and a fact sheet just for your reference. And that way, as you're formulating this and you're coming up with all of these details, it might provide, you know, some supplemental information.
And so this was for the American Relief Fund?
American Rescue Funds,
American Rescue Funds? Okay, so by Wednesday?
By Tuesday.
By Tuesday.
By Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time.
All right, thank you. Hope we have those ready.
And let me, Jonathan, we'll circle back with the communities to see if we can provide any assistance between Monday and Tuesday if they are ready to provide that information.
Yeah, of course. And I'll be a resource for anybody who needs.
Okay. So I'm not really sure why this submittal needs to be by Tuesday. I thought that we had until the 24th to have, until 2024 to have.
It's just they can, when Senator Blanco's going into
section. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'll borrow that. Okay, so I'll just briefly the Executive Director's report. Just wanted to inform you all that we did attend the Texas Association of Regional Counties. The Texas Association of Regional Councils biannual meeting, and that was done virtually. And then I also attended the Southwest Regional Economic Development Association conference in Arkansas. And I'm sure many of you have been hearing discussions about economic development administration, the amount of funding that's being made available through the ARPA monies. And so it was very timely to be present at that conference. And so those are the two items that I wanted to report out for my Executive Director's report. You have yours.
And so for President's report, I just wanted to kind of give you an update on COVID. As you all know, the 1918 Spanish flu historically is what has been the single largest responsible pandemic for the death toll in the United States. But as of September 16th, the United States is just a few thousand away from surpassing that from the coronavirus. So as of September 16, 1 in 500 American residents have died from COVID-19. Sad to say. And if you're interested in demographics, age 40 to 64 is more stark for Black Americans, 1 in 480 for Hispanics, and 1 in 390 for every Native American. And I just thought that it would be interesting for y'all to know that in the United States, cases are down by 8%, but deaths are up by 37%. And hospitalizations are down 4% over the last 14 days. Currently, there are 9,523,673 active cases in the United States. And there have been at least 666,598 deaths in the U.S. Recorded so far. There are 18,641,559 cases around the world. And right now, the 5 counties with the most new cases, the 5 countries with the most new cases, so the United States leads in that, 164,509 new cases. In the United Kingdom, 30,597 cases. In India, 30,361 cases. In Turkey, 28,224. In Iran, 19,731. So, yeah, sad to say again, but the United States leads in those cases. Worldwide, there's been over 4,659,000 290 deaths worldwide. I just thought that you would find that interesting. And also the Delta variant is still the most dominant strain in the United States. And it's becoming the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And so the vaccines that have been given have been proven to either keep people out of the hospital, keep them from dying or, becoming deathly ill. So we just need to continue to encourage and do everything to get people to get vaccinated. And so currently the CDC is monitoring 4 variants aside from the Delta variant. So one of the variants that they're monitoring is the Alpha variant, and that was detected in the United States in December of 2020, and it was initially detected in the United Kingdom. And then there's the Beta variant, which was first detected in the United States at the end of January 2021, and it was initially detected in South Africa in December of 2020. And then there's the Gamma variant, first detected in the United States in January of 2021. And it was initially identified with travelers from Brazil. And so I just thought that you would find those facts interesting. And also that the Delta variant, most people that get the Delta variant are not losing their smell or sense of taste. And so that's one of the ways that you can know which variant, if you're dealing with the regular COVID-19 or the Delta variant. That's all.
Thank you. Quickly, under announcements, just want to remind everyone that we're having our annual meeting this coming Friday. It'll be at the El Paso Community Foundation, and we will be having that one at 10 a.m. And for anyone who's coming in the night before, we have you set up at one of the hotels nearby. And so if you haven't RSVP'd yet, we'll be calling you just to ensure that we do have a quorum so we can present our annual budget and work program to the general membership for approval. And that's everything that I have for announcements, if anyone else has an announcement.
Anyone else have an announcement? No?
Okay. All right.
Great. Well, we wish everybody a safe week, and we'll see each other next week again, hopefully again. And
do you want an motion?
A
motion to adjourn?
And yes, we need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Or you're the motion?
The motion, I guess.
Okay, second by Representative Schwarzbein. Okay.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 It is.
It is 12:39.
12:39. You're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, turn around.
Oh, Representative Schwarzbein?
Godspeed, Representative Rare.
You on your little inside joke.
Good to see you.